Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. It's Ali Coram and Ed Carson here with a breakdown of the action in today's session, where we saw a bullish rebound across the board, Ed, on the heels of some new, fresh Fed headlines and some reaction to that.
Yeah, it was really impressive move today. Did not look good at the open. Want to take a look at three big movers today: Salesforce, Aehr Test Systems, and Dexcom.
We'll take a look at those stocks, but first, let's check out the major indexes. Today, the Nasdaq finishing up 0.7%, reversing higher. Looks like this maybe. There we go. That's more like it. We also had the S&P 500 up about 0.75% as well. The Dow outpacing the gains, up over 1% today. Small caps lagged a little bit, but the Russell 2000 still up about 0.3% or so, at least heading into the close. We don't have the final numbers there yet, but really strong to see this upside reversal, Ed. We've been talking about how we're at a key crossroads this week. It wouldn't take much to see significant deterioration, and it also wouldn't take much to see a rebound and reasons to add exposure. So it seems like today is what we needed for the bulls, but we still can't get too excited yet. This was very positive, though.
It was very positive because in many ways it was very positive because if we didn't get this, it was not looking good at all. At the open, we were almost at the 50-day line. The Nasdaq was already below the 200-day. The S&P, which sort of was flipped, was already below the 50-day and actually undercut the 200-day line at the open. So not looking good at all in that regard. So a big bounce, and that's even with Treasury yields rebounding quite a bit, and that did not really come off. There was the jobless claims were really low. Eurozone inflation was hotter than expected. So this is the highest in a while. But the indexes came off their lows pretty quickly, and then they turned positive. And the Dow was always sort of positive for its own reasons. But the indexes were positive when Atlanta Fed President Raphael Bostic said, yeah, I'm firmly in the camp of going for 25 basis points in March and May. And that's, some other Fed officials that said they were looking for 50 basis points. Now, he's not even a voting member. So the market wanted the rebound to look like, and that's fine. So it was really positive to see that. I do think we need to see the Russell and then the Nasdaq and the S&P get over their 21-day lines. Not that that's the be-all, end-all, but that would be something. And, we came very close on the Russell. I want to get over maybe some of those areas, a little more space. And that would give you at least some sense that that the market is bouncing back. Keep in mind, one bad day, and we could be right back there at the lows, breaking lower. So this was a nice day, but it certainly wasn't decisive.
Yeah, and this has definitely been a news-driven market. But on the technical action alone, when you get an upside reversal like this at a key level, the expectation would be that you get a follow-up of that strength. So if we do, we need to be prepared for that, potentially act. Of course, we got to see how we not only open tomorrow, but how we close. But it seems like if we do hit resistance or reverse lower and start breaking moving averages, then that would be an expectation breaker.
Yeah, and we do have, I will say this, it's hard to believe that the market would continue rising with the yields moving, if the yields keep moving higher.
True.
I know they did today, and tomorrow we have the ISM services report. That was a big negative a month ago. So watch for that.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, let's take a look briefly at a couple of sector ETFs. Here's XME reversing higher on the day, now up 4 days in a row. So all green or blue this week so far. Jets, the travel ETF, specifically for the airline stocks, also reversing higher, up about 0.5% today. SMH chip stocks also reversing nicely higher after suffering a lot of damage earlier on in the session. We will definitely get to that, but let's take a look at one of the big earnings winners from today, and that is Salesforce. Ticker there is CRM, finishing the day up about 11.5%. Some really strong volume after a setup day on Wednesday heading into the report. So that was nice. And in terms of where it closed for the day, I mean, towards the low of the gap up, but if you are talking about the true range, still pretty far up there, Ed.
Yeah, really impressive earnings, guidance, buyback, nice reaction here. Yeah, it closed off the highs, that's for sure. And so this is a lot of gap ups haven't worked. And so it's maybe better at this point to wait to see if it can maybe consolidate for a few days, almost form its own new handle or a high handle and then do something. But this was really impressive. This was a big reason why the Dow led today.
hmm And it seems like we're getting more and more evidence of enterprise software trying to make a comeback. Of course, Salesforce, a really big name in that group. So it could be key to see how it acts in following sessions to see if it can hold this strength.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And let's take a look at AEHR. How did this one close? I hadn't followed it since those first couple of opening hours there, Ed. It managed to close not only above the 50-day line, but the 30 price level, but still down over 15% for the day, down over 30% at one point. Huge volume. We were talking about on ABD Live how a lot of these silicon carbide related players got hit today on headlines out of Tesla's Investor Day last night about pulling back on silicon carbide. So a lot of these stocks got hit today, Ed, and saw a lot of volatility.
Yeah, and it's really hard to know how to deal with this. But this is, again, this is not, growth stocks can have this happen. And this is a wild growth stock. And so this is a wild day for a wild stock. It was great that it bounced back. So if you gritted your teeth and held on to it, I mean, it's still a 15% loss. It's
Right.
not, it's, it's not that there would have been much way to avoid that. But this is just something to keep in mind. They often don't come back. It could still fall off. And it's just something with a stock like this, you probably just don't want to have too big of a position. I mean, gosh, you can get some huge gains. I mean, I bet, people who bought, it doubled in a few weeks, but look at that. Look at that enormous move. I mean, I don't know, it must be like almost a 50% range this week. That's just crazy.
Yeah, I look at a beta of 2.16. I mean, I don't
That's pretty
know.
high.
Yeah, that's pretty dang high. So,
Yeah, so that's just something to watch out for, and we'll see how it goes from here. A lot of these names came way off their lows because we just don't know how all those things are going to play out for silicon carbide.
yeah, exactly like you said. It's tough, but for those who are disciplined and following rules, I mean, in the event that it did close down 30%, and if it continues to get hit, we'll have to see. But at the end of the day, no matter what your style is, how you handle selling intraday throughout the day, waiting to the close, position sizing, all of that. I mean, there's so many factors here. Where did you get in? But as long as you're managing risk at the end of the day, that is super important. You're going to get situations like this at some point if you're an active trader. And last but not least, let's take a look at DXCM, which had a strong day today, up 9.5%, got above the round number at 120, a little bit of resistance around 121 that it's not super clear that it's going to just plow through that area, close kind of right around that level. But no doubt today was a very strong day for the stock, Ed.
Yeah, you could call that 121.21 as a buy point. So technically it's 3 cents above. So, that would be, because it's almost a handle. It would have been a handle if it weren't for the fact of last week, it had its own existential threat. We talked about Aehr Test Systems, like, oh, maybe nobody wants our stuff anymore. Apple, there was reports that Apple was going to have its own glucose monitor that you wouldn't need Dexcom anymore. So that stuff can happen. Really bullish action today. Medicare is going to basically reimburse for type 2 diabetes, not just type 1. And that's most diabetics have type 2. So that's vastly expands the market for Dexcom. So I just want to, just a real shift there. Nice action today. Salesforce was the #1 stock in the S&P 500 today. This was #2 at 9.5%. Strong volume as well.
So for those who are aggressive, perhaps today was a day to enter the stock. But what about for those who aren't quite as aggressive? It seems like when you get a day of strength like this, you want to see that strength hold. So maybe it tightens up here for a couple of days in quiet volume around 120.
Yeah, and if it does move higher, you could buy depending on how the market goes. Again,
Right.
a lot of you are aggressive. If the market goes higher and starts going, then you can start feeling a little bit more aggressive. But yeah, if the market's staying in its trading range, you may just want to wait to see if this can consolidate for a little while longer.
All right. Well, a lot could hinge on tomorrow. We'll have to see how the day goes. But we've got your back, the IBD team. So make sure you join us starting tomorrow morning on IBD Live, where we will be joined by Brian Shannon of alphatrends.net. He is an expert on technical analysis. So I'm sure he's got some key levels that he's watching. So it'll be interesting to see if we have a bullish bent tomorrow, a bearish bent. We'll have to see what the day brings. So get ready for that. But we'll see you all even sooner if you are a Swing Trader subscriber or trialist, because we've got our monthly scorecard webinar coming up in a little over 15 minutes from now. So make sure you go to swingtrader.investors.com. At that top banner, there is a link to sign up for the webinar. So make sure you do that, and we will see you there for the latest on our strategies that we're using for Swing Trader, the team's market outlook, and so much more. So we'll see you then, and we'll see you tomorrow morning on IBD Live. Once again, investors.com/IBD Live for the details on that. Catch you later, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.